Hi guys, this is Klazart bringing another audio commentary, and wow, Savior versus Bisu. This is the MSL round of 32 Group A Game 1 matchup. You guys all know the format. We've got 4 players, we've got 5 matches. Takes 2 losses to get eliminated, 2 wins to get through. It's all on the line, it's all here. Savior's made the big bold statement. He's talked the talk. He's gonna destroy everyone in 2009. Let's see if he can actually live up to it. Savior, he's probably been nursing his hatred for some time now. I could just imagine the frustration and anger building up inside of him, waiting and watching while Jaedong has decimated most of his opponents and risen to fame as the premier Zerg player of recent times. And that's gotta be getting under Savior's skin. I don't think Savior's the kind of guy who likes being out of the spotlight. I don't think he's the kind of guy who likes it when people and opposing players don't take him seriously. And I think that if he's going to make a statement, this is the time for him to make this statement. A lot of you guys have been wondering where I've been in recent times. I'll get to that when I get a chance in a break in the game, but I just want to talk a little bit more about this epic rivalry between Savior and Bisu. For me personally, it probably transcends and exceeds the great rivalry between players like Boxer and Yellow, although I'm sure some old-timers will disagree with me on that. But for me, this is probably the greatest StarCraft rivalry of all time. Mainly because both of these players have been in decimating form together and faced each other in that vein. Savior just looked completely and utterly unstoppable, and then out of the blue, out of nowhere, came Bisu and ended his reign. And Savior really wasn't the player since that. That seemed to have been the one point where people realized that Savior could be beaten. And Bisu was the one who trailblazed on that, who showed us that Savior could be beaten. And since then, many players followed in Bisu's stead, and Savior really fell quite quickly and quite far from grace. But he's made that statement. He's going to be big in 2009. This is what he tells us. And I think when Savior says something like that, you've just got to take him seriously. I don't think you can ignore him when he says something like that. So I, for one, am looking really forward to this matchup. Bisu, let's not count him out. He's been in some startling form. He's been playing some great StarCraft, according to what I've read. And so I'm really looking forward to watching this. So some of you guys were wondering where I've been. Well, I can't really give you all the details, but I've been on an elite commando mission in Pakistan, trying to discover and decipher and uncover information about the Mumbai hijackers, and I've got a little something to say about that, which I will get to in a moment. Savior looks like he's just starting up his second Overlord. Savior at the bottom left-hand corner at the 7 o'clock position, Bisu at the top right-hand corner playing Protoss, obviously, at the 1 o'clock position. Bisu, I think the cross-map positions will probably aid Savior a little bit, because Bisu just relies so heavily on his scout. The earlier he scouts his opponent, the better it is for him, and this might just give Savior a chance to maybe block his ramp and prevent that scout from Bisu, just give him a little bit of misinformation. It'll be interesting. This is Neo Harmony. I'm not exactly sure how this map is going to play out. I have to be honest with you guys, I haven't commentated a StarCraft game in a long time, although it does look like the stats do favor Zerg versus Protoss on this map, so that's probably going to be something that's going to aid Savior. Savior now sending that drone out. Looks like he's going to take his natural expo, so Savior going straight for the his hatchery at his natural expo. Bisu's probe now coming in. He's just going to see that as he gets the scout, and Savior sending the second drone out, and he's actually going to be able to block that ramp and prevent Bisu from scouting, and he actually is not able to do that. So Savior's drone goes past Bisu's probe, and Bisu's going to get the probe in and get the scout and see exactly what Savior's up to. Bisu obviously put the forge down first, so he's in a comfortable enough position anyway. This is where small things can make a difference. Had Savior's position not been cross-map, had Savior been, say, at the 5 o'clock position, and Bisu scouted that, he might have been able to put the Nexus down before the forge, but because he didn't have the scouting information, because Savior is so unpredictable and he wasn't sure what Savior was going to do, he had to take the risk of putting that forge down first, and that it doesn't make a huge difference, but it's little things like that end up winning the game. Savior now starting up his spawning pool as well. Meanwhile, Savior's scouted both corners of the map, still not found Bisu's base, but I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference to Savior's gameplay or Savior's strategy. But yeah, this whole thing with the Mumbai terror attacks, I know the Israel-Palestine thing is big right now. I've got a lot to say on that as well, but I'll reserve that for another day, for another commentary. But I've got to tell you guys, you know, I really feel the plight of Muslims around the world. I do. I get their plight. I get their grievances. I understand that they feel victimized. But honestly, do they really think that killing people en masse is the best way to resolve problems and to win friends? It really isn't. And all that proves to me is that the people who are behind this, the people who are the so-called leaders of I suppose, some, again, I don't want to generalize, but some Islamic communities around the world, they clearly do not have the best interests of their people at heart, because if they did, they would use some raids. And oh my god, Savior putting a third hatchery down at the 10 o'clock position. This is crazy by Savior. He knows, obviously, that Bisu's gone for that Nexus, so he knows he's got a little window of time. Bisu now just, Nexus coming up, Photon Cannon warping in as well. Savior hasn't been able to get a scout in anywhere near Bisu's base. Cybernetic score going up for Bisu as well. Meanwhile, that neutral building between the base and the expo there seems to be an interesting building to meet, say the least, and Savior starting up the lair as well. The question is, will Bisu have gleaned? Bisu's got that probe. Savior hasn't made any attempt. He hasn't produced any Zerglings. He hasn't made any attempt to push that probe out. Now, the big question is, will Bisu be able to guess from the timing of Savior's lair that he's put a third hatchery down, and if he scouts it? Because that's going to be the key deciding factor. If Bisu scouts that hatchery and puts some pressure on it, he might be able to take it down early on, and that will be probably a crippling blow to Savior. Savior now only producing Zerglings. So it's just a question of whether Bisu was able to judge from looking at Savior's base, from the timing of that layer going up, whether Savior was able to, whether he was or not able to disguise that hatchery going up. So far the hatchery's up. Bisu hasn't made any attempt to scout. He's now sending a Zealot down, and it'll be interesting to see if Bisu does send that Zealot towards Savior's main, or if he sends that across. Savior's got that overall very well positioned to see any units coming across. He has sent a drone over to his third hatchery as well at the 10 o'clock position. He's presumably putting a creep colony, sending it down later, and Bisu looks like he is setting a Zealot there, so the Bisu's going to find this base. The problem is Bisu, well, even though he is going to scout it, because he's obviously got the Cybernetic score going, he isn't really going to be able to put as much pressure early on, but the fact is that Bisu has scouted it. So Bisu, with that probe in Savior's base, saw the layer going up, saw that he hadn't produced any Zerglings for a while, and Savior doesn't have much in that base. He's got a couple of Zerglings that he's just produced. Probably once he saw that, I thought he was going to put a creep column down with the drones that he sent over, but he started to mine straight away. I guess it would have been overcautious to try and put the creep column down, so Savior's just going to try and delay the Zealot from Bisu's while his reinforcements arrive. So far, Bisu hasn't really been able to harass Savior's economy much. Bisu with the lone gateway only at this point in time, and the Zealot just planting himself behind the mineral line. Savior finally getting a surround on that Zealot is probably going to be able to take it down with these new group of Zerglings. He's sending a decent amount of group of Zerglings to the middle of the map just to try and control the flow and to prevent Bisu from really pushing forward doing harass. Meanwhile, Bisu's getting that robotics facility up, and he's also getting the Cybernetic score up. So there's interesting choice of strategy. Savior obviously going for the third hatchery early enough, and Bisu has scouted it. So it's just a question of Savior's contain now and how long that's going to hold. Savior now going in, rushing in with the Zerglings. He's produced a massive Zergling, and Bisu would not have expected this, and Savior might be able to deal some blow to Bisu's economy here. One of the Photon Cannons definitely go to the second Photon Cannon up, and Savior's going to be able to take the second Photon Cannon down as well, and he's going to be able to deal massive damage to Bisu's probes, and Bisu's going to be in huge trouble here. This is really going to give Savior a massive lead, and I don't see how Bisu's going to be able to come out from this. Savior continuing to just pound away at those probes and kill them. An absolute massacre, and genius by Savior, it has to be said. I think the last thing that Bisu expected was for Savior to come with those, and I have to be honest, I didn't expect it at all. I probably wasn't even watching. I would have seen it if I had been paying attention. Meanwhile, the Corsairs coming out from Bisu, but Bisu's economy is crippled. He is in huge trouble here. Savior has dealt a massive blow with the sneak attack from those Kamikaze Zerglings. Scourge is popping out for Savior as well, so he's managed to get the Spire up in time as well. This is just stunning play from Savior. I have to tell you guys, I am so impressed. Brilliant play from Savior. I don't think we would have seen this kind of play from Savior maybe 6 months or even 8 months ago, and that Corsair now is a long way to go for Bisu, and Bisu's not going to be able to deal any damage with those Corsairs as well, and Savior looks to me to be in complete control of this game already very early on in this matchup. Looks like that Corsair is going to get intercepted by Scourge. Bisu doing a good job of spinning around, trying to dodge them. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to keep it alive, but yeah, just to reflect for a moment on Savior's genius there, I think it was clear that Bisu was not going to expect Savior to come forth with Zerglings. The timing of that attack, it just beggars belief, the ingenuity with which Savior thinks and the level with which he plays the game of StarCraft. Obviously, Bisu would have been expecting Savior to maybe get some air going, to get that Hydralisk den up, to try and get some Hydralisk to counter the Corsairs. The last thing he would have expected on the face of the Zerg would be for Savior to come streaming in with massive Zerglings, and the timing of it, the timing of Savior's attack, it just 1 second here or there and it would have failed. He could not have produced those Zerglings any quicker. He needed to know exactly how many Zerglings he would need, and at the same time he needed to time it and get those Zerglings in before Bisu had really that defense up. The only thing probably counting in Savior's favor was that Bisu lost that first Zealot. Had that first Zealot been alive, it might have been able to slow and block at some narrow choke point in between the pylons and the Photon Cannons, just slow the Zerglings down a little bit and allow the cannons to get a few more hits in and maybe survive, and Savior would not have been able to deal so crippling a blow to Bisu's economy. But Bisu is going to really struggle now, because that third hatchery, Savior's going to have his 3 gas, and he's now putting another expansion down at the excuse me, at the 6 o'clock position, and Bisu is just going to have a really tough, and not only that, but he's also lost his initial couple of crosshairs, so Bisu is pretty much boxed into his base at the top right hand corner. Xavier meanwhile using Burrow, and this, I have to be honest with you guys, I don't think Zerg players use Burrow enough. In my opinion, any